Saying live at your, hey, there it is. All right, we're on. I'm gonna take just a minute to share this around to a few places. Is it showing up on my page yet, Dr. Jerod?
Let's see. Yep, here I am. Let's just share that on my page real quick.
All right.
All right, man.
Good?
Yeah, I'm good. You good?
All right. I'm good, man. I'm good. We are live bright and early out here on the West Coast. It's Dr. Casey Pride. And Dr. Jerod, are we wearing the same shirt, bro?
Yeah, buddy.
We're wearing the same shirt?
Yes, sir.
We got to do an air hug here.
Let's do it. Bring it in.
Well, good morning, guys. It's Dr. Casey Pride here, Cone Health Institute in Orange County, California, and I'm live with my very good friend, Dr. Jerod Posey from St. Louis, or Wildwood, Missouri, close to the St. Louis area. And Dr. Jerod's a chiropractor, is the owner of 212 Degrees of Wellness. He loves chiropractic and he loves Jesus, and I love talking to him. And so, Dr. Jerod, thanks for having this conversation, buddy.
Oh my gosh, man, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's always great to talk to you.
Yeah, man, it's always good to talk to you. Every time our paths cross and we get to hang out, I get to hear you speak. It's always a blast.
It's usually a good weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. So start up, man. How did you get into chiropractic? Because you're a chiropractor. What was that journey like for you?
Yeah. So without giving too much backstory, I grew up in sports. I grew up playing soccer mostly. It was like my passion for the first half of my life, and I got injured a lot. And when I got into high school, I started getting, excited about anatomy and physiology and that kind of stuff. And through these different injuries I had, I ended up doing PT quite a bit. So I had it in my head I was going to be a physical therapist when I graduated high school. I went away to college up in Wisconsin and studied pre-physical therapy for a year. I played soccer at that school. And then that summer after, I blew out my knee terribly and transferred schools, no longer a pre-PT program at my next school. So played around in pre-med a little bit, did some athletic training, some fitness and sports medicine. And ultimately that's where I graduated, was with fitness and sports medicine degree. And I was working in a physical therapy clinic, training athletes, doing more like performance-based stuff. And at the time, a buddy of mine from my hometown was getting ready to graduate, Logan. He was working at this clinic as well. Logan, for those of you listening who don't know, that's a chiropractic school in St. Louis. And so my buddy Dante was working there. And man, after like 6 months of working in this clinic, I knew I didn't want to do it anymore. It was opening this gym at 5 a.m. It was closing it down at like 9 or 10. I knew it wasn't sustainable long-term for like the family and the life that I wanted to have. And the crazy thing was my now wife, who we were just dating at the time, she had suffered her entire life with these like terrible migraine headaches and had tried all these medications, kept going to the doctor. The latest medications that she was on at the time were starting to cause depression and weight gain, and it was just really messing with her. And my buddy Dante at this clinic, he's like, have you guys tried chiropractic for her headaches? And I was like, no, I didn't know chiropractic did anything, except neck pain and back pain. And so we took her to his clinic. He started evaluating.
Oh, just lost Jerod there. Hey, we still have you there, man?
Yeah, I got a phone call that interrupted us. You're frozen on my screen. Can you see me okay?
Yeah, I can see you great. You're coming through fine.
There you go. You're back. Yeah, so anyway, long story short, man, my buddy Dante helped my wife get rid of these migraine headaches that she had her entire life. We were floored by it. I was actually, the crazy thing is I was like this close to going into pharmaceutical sales at the time that I got accepted to chiropractic school. So I had been through like 5 rounds of interviews with this pharmaceutical company. And once, Dante was telling me about chiropractic and he helped Erin with her headaches and all that kind of stuff, I got interested and I started calling, chiropractors in my area saying, hey, what do you like about your job? What do you not like about it? Can I come shadow you? These types of things. And I was floored because everybody was in love with chiropractic. Like they loved their job. And I was like, this sounds legit, So I applied to chiropractic school. And honestly, dude, this was probably one of the first things in my life that I really prayed about. because they both sounded appealing. But on one hand, it was like, probably get a job making close to 6 figures or more right out of college, probably a car, probably a, expense account, probably a laptop, a phone, all that kind of stuff. And then on the other hand, it was like, here's going back to school for like 4 more years and probably spending, another $200,000 worth of student loans and not making any money. And I prayed about it, and like God closed the door on the pharmaceutical sales thing, and I got accepted to chiropractic school like the exact same week that this other company went on a hiring freeze. So I just trusted, and he closed one door and opened the next for me, man.
I love it, man. And you mentioned praying over it. You mentioned faith. You mentioned God closing the door and opening the right door for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to know more just about your faith journey. I know you're strong in your faith in Christ, and you bring that into your practice. I'd love to know just how you got there.
It's a long story. So I won't go too deep, but I mean, I grew up. My parents were Catholic. My grandparents are like devout Catholics. So I always heard, about Jesus. Like, we were practicing Catholics. We went to church, I went to Catholic school my whole life, had all the sacraments, all this and that. But, every time we would do something to get in trouble when I was little, it's funny, my grandma would like take us into her bedroom and like start preaching to us. And she'd be like, no, Jesus wants you to be nice, and anyway, it was always part of my life, but for the longest time, like, God was still just an idea. He was this intangible thing, and I just kind of was going through the motions. And honestly, probably like the first big thing I prayed about was that decision that I just told you about going to chiropractic school or pursuing pharmaceutical sales. And then the next like really big thing I prayed about was getting married to my wife, and God just answered me. And the more I started asking and trusting and believing, like the more he started showing up, and like things just became very, very clear. It's like, here's your sign, and doors opened and certain doors closed. And it just became too much to be a coincidence anymore, and man, just like anything else, chiropractic or professional sports or whatever, I got coaches and mentors and started learning and like digging into the Bible and praying more and asking more and trusting more, and it kind of led me to where I am now.
Yeah. And I think every time I've heard you speak on health and chiropractic, you've brought Jesus into that conversation. So how do you tie Jesus into your healing philosophy?
I mean, for me, a lot of times when you and I speak together, it's to groups of chiropractors, and like these chiropractic philosophy talks or conferences and things like that. So, in knowing our audience, it's already knowing that we're speaking to a group of chiropractors who have a certain belief, or what we call quote unquote principled doctors, So the idea is, in chiropractic really is that it's not a therapeutic, right? It's not for neck pain. It's not for back pain. It's all about connection back to the power that created us, this power that's running our bodies. So, it mirrors very closely to me my faith, because we talk about this idea of universal intelligence in chiropractic, right? This intelligence that created literally everything in the living world and the universe. It's all organized, like looking at like the chemical structures of things under microscopes. Like nothing is random. Like there's definitely a plan, right? There's an organization that was created by an intelligence. To me, that intelligence, it's God. It's like universal intelligence is God. And sure, you can call it different things. You can call it, Mother Nature. You can call it source. You can call it whatever you really want. But I was reading a quote this morning that said, "A rose called by any other name is still a rose," right? So whatever you want to call it, you can call it. In chiropractic philosophy, it's universal. To me, it's God. So, and then we've got this idea of innate intelligence, right? That runs a living body, right? And to me, it's just that very much so mirrors like the Holy Spirit, right? Because the Bible says like when Jesus left, he sends the Holy Spirit, right? And Jesus lives in our heart. So I believe that, there's a part of God that's within each and every one of us. And the idea in chiropractic is to make that connection back to, universal and innate. For me and my faith, it's all about making that connection back to back to our creator, to God.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a missing piece in a lot of practices. And what I think a lot of people don't understand about chiropractic is there is this idea that there is an inborn, innate intelligence in you. You were born with this innate ability to heal. That's hardwired into you. Your body never forgets that. There's just some things can interfere with the expression of that. You cut your finger. This is a question I ask patients: is you cut your finger, what happens? You don't bleed for the rest of your life. It heals. And that same healing capacity exists throughout your entire body and for your whole life. And we're not healers. We're not therapeutics. We're simply facilitating the expression of that so you can function and heal at your highest potential.
Yeah.
My microphone's being weird. I apologize, but
no, you're good. And the other thing is like, Jesus was like the ultimate healer, man. Right? Like if you, whether you're a Christian or you're not, like if you study the Bible and you study the life of Jesus, like he healed all these people, like lepers and, whatnot. And, people that were paralyzed and things like that. And ultimately brought some people back from the dead. Right. And ultimately, if you study his life, he himself, rose from the dead. So, we have this awesome, incredible intelligence with us, but we're all still kind of like broken a little bit to some extent, and when you study Christianity, like the answer to that brokenness is him, right? Like there's no way in Christianity that we can earn our way to heaven by going through works or even just being a good person or anything like that, which are all good things to do good works and to be a good person, right? But ultimately that doesn't make our way to heaven. What makes our way to heaven is accepting Jesus, so we are truly only healed by him. So when it comes to healing, it's hard for me to ignore that part of my life.
Yeah. So when you're in your practice, how is that? Because I've seen how you practice. I've seen how you adjust. Is your faith well received in your practice?
This is something that I struggle with because I respect, everybody. Like everybody's a human being that deserves respect. I personally believe like we're all children of God. We just have to accept him. So if somebody comes in my practice and they have different beliefs, like I've got people in my practice that are Mormons, and I've got some people in my practice that are Muslims, and I've got people in my practice that are I'm trying to think of the name of this religion, like universal, anyway, the point is all these different religions, it's not only Christians in my practice. So I respect them, but I ultimately, feel called to share or be an example of Christianity and to kind of spread that message. So, I'd really try not to shove it in people's faces. If people want to have a conversation, I'm like, hey, let's go have lunch, or like, let's go have a drink after work or whatever, and like, let's talk outside of here. But, a lot of times I do subtle things, like we'll play a lot of Christian music in my office. I wear, bracelets on my wrists that say like known by God and make him known. I've got a cross in my office. We talk about when we explain chiropractic and this amazing power that's inside your body. I always explain it as like God putting it there, so it's subtle, but it's seeds, and if the soil's ripe in that person and they want to know more, like the conversation gets deeper at times, if people are already believers, then they recognize that and they can see it. And then we're like, oh yeah, we're in the same family, bro. Like it's cool. Yeah.
I think one of the best things you can do is live that example. I think that that's, in my opinion, that's one of the best things you can do. I want to shift for just a minute and just go to this sort of uncertain, turbulent time that we're dealing with right now. What encouragement do you have for people right now, man?
No doubt, like it's a scary time, right? Like it's okay to be scared, I would say, at least back in March and April, like I think it's, it's just this novel, this new virus that we have going on. So there's a certain level of fear that people have. But ultimately, I think what we're seeing when we look at the numbers from this, it's really just like another virus, like we deal with the flu every single year and we don't, put on masks and socially distance for the flu and, sanitize everything every time you touch anything for the flu. So I don't know, I'm maybe going off on tangents a little bit, but I guess the thing that I would want to share for people with that is like, don't forget, like you survived all these flu seasons, right? Like you survived all these little viruses and colds and things that you got along the way. And don't forget, that God created you to heal, just like what we've been talking about. There is a power, there is an intelligence in your body. There is an immune system in your body that is designed to deal with this stuff. And it will when we let it do its work,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's such an important message for people, because I think people look at this virus and they think it's something that just happens to them. They think health is just something that happens to you, or disease is something that happens to you, when really you have a heck of a lot more control over it than you realize. Every decision you're making in your lifestyle is either supporting your healing and moving you in a direction of health, or it's moving you in the other direction. Right. And, if people just know how to make the right choices and really support that inborn healing intelligence, man, they really don't have anything to worry about. And the numbers pretty well reflect that if you look at the numbers without the hype. So,
well, yeah. The thing about the immune system, like we all have an immune system, right? So the thing about that is like, it's like our musculoskeletal system. Like you go to the gym and you start like pumping weights, like your muscles are going to get strong, right? Like if we use our immune system the way that it was meant to be used, it's going to get strong, like resistance is going to make it stronger and more powerful. But if all we do is avoid things, like our immune system doesn't really get a chance to flex its muscles, and if it doesn't get a chance to flex its muscles, it's going to be weak. So constantly avoiding all these germs, it doesn't really make a lot of sense for me. I mean, germs and bacteria are like a vital part of our immune system,
Oh yeah. Yeah, we've got just as much. Actually, we got more bacteria cells in our body than we do human cells. People don't realize that. Like you are constantly exposed to germs.
Right.
Every single cell in your body has 100,000 viruses in it. So,
We used to joke. I've got three young kids, and I'd be like, my kids can lick the doorknobs. Like I don't care. Like they're gonna get adjusted. We're gonna feed them right. Get them outside, get them exercise. Like we'll work on their immune system. So it's a difference in perspective and mindset for people, I guess.
Sure. Well, Dr. Jerod, anytime I have conversations with people, I love to give you the last word and share with the world what you think they need to hear. So what does the world need to hear from Dr. Jerod Posey today?
It's a great question. Like there's so many things I want to share with people, but I guess like the main thing that I hope everybody remembers is like, don't forget, just truly how amazing you are. Like, again, like as a Christian, I believe like we're all sons and daughters of the one true King, like of God, who created everything. And when you look at the Bible, it says that like we're created in his image. We are truly amazing. Like you mentioned, Casey, you cut your finger, you break a bone, right? You get a cold, like your body knows exactly what to do to heal that stuff. So don't forget just how really amazing you are. Like your heart is beating over 100,000 times a day, blood through thousands of miles of vessels in your body. Like the power that's within you, like there's nothing more powerful. There's no drug that's more powerful. There's no surgery that's more powerful. There's no doctor that's more powerful than this doctor that's, this innate intelligence that lives in you. So, and knowing that, just how much power you have and how amazing you are, like, what do you want to do that you're not doing? Like, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? What would you do if you knew how powerful you truly were? Maybe, there's a dream in your heart that you're waiting to fulfill, but you're just scared of it. Just don't forget how amazing and how powerful you are.
I love it, man. It's beautiful. Well, Dr. Jerod, thanks for doing this, man. We'll have to do it again. I love your shirt, and when I see you in person next, we'll have to do this in real life. But I'll air hug you one more time.
Yes, sir, buddy. It's funny that I just hugged my camera, but I'm with you.
I hear you, man. Well, hey, guys, thanks for watching. Dr. Jerod Posey, you can check him out in Wildwood, Missouri. I've got his website scrolling on the bottom of the screen. It's 212 Degrees of Wellness. That is his clinic. He'll take good care of you. So, Dr. Jerod, thanks, brother. I'll look forward to seeing you soon. Yep.
Yeah, buddy. Thanks so much.
Oh, you bet. We'll see you soon.
See ya.